people who weren't here last week and people who haven't been to the book club before, this book club used to be hosted by Susan until the thing that happened that we're not going to talk about because you all know about it, and I don't want to start the book club crying. I'm just gonna show you the sort of emails that I've been getting from Susan this week. So we've got just like LinkedIn first. That's nice. She hates the book club. She wants to come on. Actually, might be entitled to compensation. That's quite good. Oh, for God's sake! Okay, I'm gonna have to duel her. Let's get our guest in. Now, he's a writer. He's a performer. He's also a literary man, and he's literally a man. Let's maybe retire to a room that's a little bit less grand. First, please have some wine. Help yourself to some wine.
Oh.
Can you reach that?
Thank you. Yeah, I don't actually drink, so...
Oh, don't worry, I'm a reverse Jesus. It's 29 degrees. I think, you know what? I think I'm just going to take this off. And just live a little. Sorry, it's going to make me look a little bit unprofessional throughout. It's my academic summer wear. Underneath this, I've just got another turtleneck. Let's maybe say the book title at the same time. Owls. About that owl.
That owl.
How's about that owl? The author, please.
Matilda Tweedy.
Matilda Matweedy. How's about that owl? Because obviously, How's about that owl came out, as you pointed out there, in the 80s, when it was a different time back then. I've noticed quite a lot.
Yeah, it was the 1880s.
The 1880s. It was a very different time back then. Not a lot was known about owls.
Whenever there was a lull in a conversation, whenever there was a lull in a group gathering, someone would just pipe up, How's about that owl?
There were others. It wasn't just how's about that owl. There was other very curious 1884 expression. What's up with that beaver? Why's that stoat coming round?
Did you feel that the owl was in some way misogynist?
And I think this book didn't help. It didn't help that the owl kept sort of saying quite overtly misogynistic jokes. There was a lot of...
You think if it was written today, it would be cancelled? Little Roddy found the owl in the barn.
In the barn, yeah.
He found it in the barnacle.
And then there's that great moment where he's like, I've never seen a barnacle up close. Yeah. Is that a beak?
It was classic Matudi. Like, she just... you were fooled into thinking that it was going to be something quite sweet when, in a nice twist... where you thought Roddy maybe in befriending the owl, who was called...
Shannon. Well, because he's not technically owl, it's owl, isn't it? So, but that's, like, pronunciations is neither here nor there.
You thought Roddy was going to train the owl, but on his arm, but it wasn't like that at all. That the owl, like, trained Roddy on his wing.
You know, Shannon's didn't speak, just sort of proffered a wing. What boy, when an owl proffers a wing, stands on it?
An owl comes up to you and offers you his wing to stand on.
An owl with no trousers.
And you're going to walk away from that?
Thank you for following.
You're going to walk away from that?
I might not walk away from it, but I'd like to have some thought before I mount the owl.
You're going to ride some feather all the way. You're going to mount that wing. And you're going to see where this adventure is going to take you. And that was the book.
How's about that owl? That owl's got one wing. It's quite miffed.
It's an owlery. It wasn't saying what it was saying. It was saying what it wasn't saying.
Do you not see that the ending showed that Roddy's journey and Roddy's decision-making was the owl? The owl Shannon's died from a wing infection. You can't just stand on an owl and not expect there to be consequences.
That's what's a bit disappointing about all of the other books, is that it's all variations on How's About That Owl.
Yeah, that's why Woodland Animals Assemble, it doesn't quite work, because it is obviously just variations of humans mounting different animals, and then the animal's like, ow, and then it ends, and you're like, well, that was just like loads of dead animals. But look, do you want to read an excerpt from it?
It's one of the pages that's just a drawing, is that all right?
Describe it to us.
I'll follow the line.
Okay. Oh, yes, it's the sun. It's when the sun... Yes, it's the sun in the grass underneath the sun when the sun was beating down. And there's the owl. There's the owl pecking. There's the owl pecking with its beak, freed from the barnacle. I did find it misogynistic because even the owl, when its wing was broken, was still able to make mother-in-law jokes.
Which one you mean? I might have missed that one.
Yeah, just going to find a page. A mother-in-law joke.
And you're saying this was the most problematic part because it was the most misogynistic thing you've ever read? Is that right?
Yeah, one of, but obviously of its time.
And back then they were just off the hook in terms of their misogyny.
They were off the hook.
It must be really strong.
They were off the hook.
The bit that caught your eye.
Yeah, it was very bad. Shannon's looked up at little Roddy, broken.
I'm laughing already.
And Shannon's looked up with his big owl eyes, freed from that barnacle.
Oh, here it comes.
And said, do you ever think that women should get in the kitchen, especially if they're your mother-in-law, and they should stay in the kitchen and make me an owl sandwich? I hate women. So you think that wasn't clear?
I missed the whole women angle in that.
What I find interesting is that we had such different opinions about this book.
That's book club.
What are we thinking, guys? Are we thinking that this should go in the literary canon which was fired into the British Library? Alan says it might prove too controversial for some. That's true. Do we keep literature?
Alan needs to grow some.
Well, that in and of itself. Grow some what? Pray tell.
Owls.
If you are firing it into the canon of the British Library, are you condoning these sorts of very sprawling, very very rote, misogynistic comments that the owl was making? I mean, the Stokes are homophobe, so do we put the Stoke thing in as well? I'm not going to read from the Stoke book because I actually couldn't get through it for that reason.
These are great kids' books that just really teach.
Yeah, we didn't mention, of course, that they are for children.
I think all of them should go in there. I think all of them we can learn from.
What about the one about the chicken who hates France?
What's that one called again?
It's called Vive la France? No. Destroyed, as somebody said right at the beginning, it destroyed the reputation of owls for so long. We didn't realise they had trousers. We didn't realise that they didn't love women. Owls, like famously, big fans of women. I don't know if I've ever been to a Beyonce concert and not seen at least half the population, the audience, owls.
Well, if you like it, then you should have put a field mouse on it. That's what they sing with their talons.
Beyonce obviously has a huge owl following, particularly. Taylor Swift, not so much. That's just because.
It's Swifts.
That's Swifts, yeah, and Taylor's. You're working on a book at the moment, aren't you?
I am.
And I do this to everyone. It's naughty of me. It is naughty, but do you want to give us a little hint as to just to give us a little exclusive as to what you've been thinking of writing?
What I wanted to do was every chapter be a different genre.
Yeah.
Every chapter, so that just when you thought you were getting a handle on what you were reading, suddenly someone was either getting killed or getting romanced or getting digitized or getting owled. It has a feel like I've been not quite convinced by anything that I've written.
Oh, I love those
Every
books.
day I've started again. But that's what I want you to think. I want you to think that I don't know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, because the twist is the twist that you don't know where you're going. Is that the twist?
Yeah.
Lizzie says here, I think as a reader I'd be confused and delighted and then confused again. And in a way, isn't that what reading is? When you start reading, you don't have to read because you're like, holy, you taking that wig off is like your book. And I think I've never been more excited to read something in my entire life. Oh yes, I should say that Adam, you're not on social media, are you? But you are going to be starting some sort of Twitch stream.
It was a podcast called The Pod of Maximum Damage, and it's going to be turned into the Twitch of Maximum Damage.
Well, what is it? What is it? What is it?
It is a... am I making this up now? Or
no. Like,
I'm telling it real.
Just tell the people the real thing before, and then I can, wrap us up with a book quote.
So it's a fake podcast, fan podcast, about a fake TV show that's popular the world over.
I don't know how it would
so
work.
So this is going to be the fake Twitch show of the fake TV show.
But if the thing you're talking about doesn't exist, how does that work? Okay, so I'm going to play you all out with a quote from a book that I'm reading at the moment. It's called Philosophy for Dumas. Dumas, I imagine, means a very intellectual person that wants to know more. Look at the front cover.
Thank you. How's about that owl?
Okay, in the words of Martin Cohen, stories of body and mind, transference abound. It's a staple of folk tales and science fiction, not just philosophy. Almost didn't understand that and almost chose the wrong book. But please join us next week. And it was absolutely lovely to have you all for another book club. Thank you very much, Adam.